Okay, ACI 10 Class 6. So, we're finally, it took us a while to get past the stage of purification, right? Well, we're not really past it, but now you all should know everything you need to know about purification. And if you don't, you can catch up through the Ustream tapes or the audios online. And so, who can tell me what book we're studying?
Guide to Bodhisattva's
Way of Life. And who was it written by? So we've been going through the first stage, which was getting rid of all of your obstacles, right? Everything that would prevent you from getting bodhicitta. Okan, what was bodhicitta?
Well, bodhicitta is basically you trying to get enlightened for the sake of other living beings.
That's right. It's the wish to get enlightened yourself for the sake of every living being. So we weren't even at bodhicitta, right? We were trying to go through the obstacles to bodhicitta. So we needed to purify ourselves, right? And we went through the different ways you could do that, the preliminaries of prostrating, offering, taking refuge. And then last class we were talking about some of the things you could start doing to collect the virtue, the good karma that you need to get to bodhicitta. And that included the rejoicing, what was it, asking teachers to stay and teach. Did any of you notice how similar that was to the 7-limb prayer, to the warm-up, to meditation? Yeah. So you can actually do those steps we went through last class as your whole meditation, if you want. And in fact, it's sometimes good to revisit those. And Lamajan led us in the 7-limb prayer a couple of classes ago when we had, she's not here tonight, but we had one brand new student who hadn't been to any ACI, and we started class with a meditation, which basically was all of this, the preliminaries. So if you missed it, you can catch it on Ustream, I think, from a couple of classes ago. So, so all those steps, right? You know, where you place your teacher or your teachers in front of you, you prostrate to them in your heart, you make them beautiful offerings, you you confess something that you want to get off your mind, and you rejoice for others, and then you ask them to teach and you ask them to stay, right? Well, all of those are things that you can use either as preliminaries to meditation, your entire meditation, or if any of you have a guru devotion practice going on, that's a really effective one to do with your guru as your object, right? So Geshe-la was noting that people get really, really excited when they first start meditating and start seeing the results of some of those early meditations. It's pretty exciting, right? Like, well, it can be really depressing initially when you notice how insanely noisy your mind is and how many obstacles you might want to confess. But on the other hand, it's really cool, the progress that you can make in a very short amount of time. But Geshe-la also talks about how he has had the experience of, a lot of people come and talk to him, right? I mean, he travels the world teaching, and he has very often run into seasoned meditators, seasoned practitioners who seem a little depressed and seem a little down and are not, they confess that they're really not getting that much out of their meditation, and they're wondering what they're doing wrong. They're wondering what they could be doing differently. And he always talks about going back to the preliminaries. It's interesting because in the beginning of this audio, he also gets a little wrathful about the whole practice of shamatha. And, here around these here parts, we're really excited about shamatha. We have Holy Doug Veenhoff coming back to Vancouver soon to teach a meditation weekend, and earlier this year he gave a beautiful shamatha retreat, which I know a lot of you benefited from, and it is an exquisite practice. Geshe-la is really commenting, though, on the catchphrase of shamatha as kind of an end goal that people throw out there. They banter it about as this really high attainment that you have to get to, and oh, we're doing a shamatha retreat this weekend, as if by the end of it you're going to see DPE. You may not, but if you're holding that out as your end goal, it can be a little challenging. And either we talk about it too lightly, or we make it seem like this deep, onerous thing that is impossible to reach. And Geshe-la promises that you can get to shamatha, this deep state of meditation that we're all aspiring for, by doing the preliminaries consistently, regularly, and with dedication. Like, just do the preliminaries. Yeah, I know, it's really exciting. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So it's not an impossible thing to do, and it's not a super easy thing to do. It's somewhere in the middle. But really what separates a successful meditation from an unsuccessful meditation is how well you do your preliminaries. And if your time, I started this executive job, how long ago? 3 months ago? And my time gets sucked. But seriously, when I can sit and do even a beautiful set of preliminaries, but not, and I'm not even going to say just preliminaries, because it's not that. If I can do that with clarity and awareness, it sets me up for the whole day. It's exquisite. It is as powerful as some of the meditations I experience in 1 month retreat. And you guys know I do 1 month retreats. So it is that powerful. And really why a lot of people fail in their meditation practice is because they skip over the preliminaries, or they don't do them at all. Okay? So sometimes the question comes up, how long should you spend on the preliminaries? And Geshe-la says, it can be 10 minutes. If you don't have 45 minutes, if you don't have an hour and a half, if you don't have 2 hours, you can still do it. So then, sometimes what happens is you'll get onto it. I have noticed this happens sometimes where you'll spend 10 minutes just setting up your merit field, right? And then you go on to, the next step or whatever. And some steps are more juicy for you than others. And you'll find that then you're racing to finish all the rest of the 7 in 30 seconds, right? He says, don't do that. Try and pace yourself so that whatever time you do have, you're spending it equally beautifully, regardless if it's a few minutes or whether you've got longer, okay? So there's no set formula. What you don't want to do is zone out on one of those preliminaries and then you kind of wake up and have to pull yourself back. That's just not the reason for doing preliminaries. So you can use it just as focused as if you were doing a more quote-unquote complicated meditation, okay? So he says try to spend an equal amount of time on it, on each of the steps. That's all.
So, why? Why do you suppose that it would be, or it could be, that you could sit down and reach shamatha by doing 10, 15, 20 minutes on the preliminaries? You're not doing some crazy deal where you're focusing on your breath. You're not you're not putting all your mind's effort into reaching this still point. There's movement. You have objects coming and going. You're calling up images. You're looking at images. That's not stillness. No one here can tell me. No one here can tell me how that could reach a stillness, because it can't bring you to stillness. Or takmadrup, it can bring you to stillness. It can bring you to stillness because you're sitting down and it's quiet. Oh, so you're saying that just because you're sitting down and quiet doesn't mean you're going to be still? So you can be in a noisy room and reach stillness. You can be in a noisy room and not have stillness. So there's something about the meditation that could bring you to stillness. You can't tell me what that is.
Sattva.
Show!
You're purifying your obstacles. You're gathering together all the causes for goodness, merit. So you're putting into place all of the causes and conditions that will lead you to reach stillness as a ripening.
As a ripening. So you're trying to tell me that, are you trying to tell me that actually shamatha is a result of karma?
Sure.
That's crazy.
Christ.
Okay, I'll buy that. I'll buy that. Yeah, it's a result. Everything is a result.
Everything else.
You know, like there are some, Geshe-la, he's got a group, a whole parade of people that's like, you know, traipsing around the globe right now, teaching their little bums off. Who and they're like, and the class was like split, right? Some of them went into deep retreat, and they're hammering it down, and some of them are like traipsing around, teaching dharma. They all want the same thing, right? It's a karma. You need to have the karma in place, or it can't happen. You could sit there and go crazy with your breath or whatever it is on the thoughts in your mind, and if the karma is not in place, it cannot happen. It just won't. It won't. And so, you know, if stillness, if reaching this platform we've talked about so many times, right? The first level of the form realm is so key in seeing emptiness directly, and you're sitting there like a mad person wishing that you could become a totally enlightened Buddha for the sake of every other living being, and you're planting all this karma, then that has to shoot you into stillness, because you need stillness to see emptiness directly. You need to see emptiness in order to become a Buddha, so you have to get there. So the preliminaries, they're kick ass. They are amazing. The preliminaries, I'm sorry. I can't say enough about the preliminaries. I get really excited about them. When I first started doing them, I was just like, this is insane. This is insane. And I was one of the ones like I would sit and I would really, really spend time on them until they become very fluid. And then they become so fluid for you. They can become so fluid for you. Then your day, as you walk through your day, is a preliminary.
It's beautiful.
Your world turns into the mandala that you've been creating in your preliminaries. What do you think is going on when you sit there and hammer these ideas into your mind? You are turning your world into the thing that you want to project. That's how it works. So we're talking in this class in the study or the wish for enlightenment. We've been talking about getting real bodhicitta, right? We talk about bodhicitta. Bodhicitta, it's the wish. We're always talking about it. Right? And you know, I don't know who's in the room or what level anyone's at. Like, we can't tell. But real bodhicitta, the real bodhicitta, is a difficult place to reach. I don't want to say it is difficult, because it cannot be self-existently difficult, just like nothing else can be self-existently difficult. But it appears, you know, if you're maybe a normal person living in a world that appears to be like a normal kind of world, it appears that in that situation it's difficult, and that maybe it's such a tricky subject. Maybe if you're living in a world that you're projecting as a normal kind of situation, then it's very rare that a person could achieve this in their lifetime. Maybe one, maybe two people in this room will achieve it in their lifetime. So that your heart cracks open and you have this ultimate wish for enlightenment. And then at that point you are virtually unstoppable, right? But we could go to the debate ground on that, and we could come up with, well, is it that difficult? Or is everyone already a bodhisattva and I'm like the last one who isn't? Whatever, however you see your world, that's how it is, right? That is how it is for you. So we need to do what we can to reach this place so that we can be unstoppable, right? And so there's a ceremony in which you pledge to the wish for enlightenment. And actually, we do a little one before every single class. I go for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, right? You're saying there, I wish. I go for refuge to them, and I go for refuge to them until I'm enlightened. And then the last half of it is like, by the goodness of what I do and giving and the rest. Does that sound familiar? The 6 perfections, right? So by performing the 6 perfections, may I then achieve, right? So every single time we sit down and do this little prayer, this is what we're doing. But there's a more formal ceremony, and we'll talk about a bit of that today. And a lot of people nowadays, they do 2 ceremonies as one ceremony, because in the days of Arya and Nagarjuna, they would do one ceremony to just, may I please get the wish, and then they do another ceremony as to take the bodhisattva vows, as in I will now act like a bodhisattva. And those were 2 separate ceremonies. Nowadays, like when we do them here, it's one. So, yeah.
So what Lamajong was just saying is doing the committing to the wish in the form of both the prayer and in action, right? So taking the vows is committing to the action, but the action that you're committing to are the 6 perfections. And it's a commitment to get bodhicitta. It's a commitment to really, really think and feel like a bodhisattva. And really, you're saying, I will spend the rest of my life expending all of my energy trying to reach Buddhahood. I'm going to do it for the sake of every living being. And it's that commitment. And it's a very odd state of mind. It's not, I mean, that's not the way people normally think, right? You don't get up in the morning and thinking, I'm going to brush my teeth and go to the bathroom for the sake of every living being. But you know what? You should. Because it makes those seemingly mundane acts very, very profound. And if any of you have your bodhisattva vows in this room, you should be doing that just as a bodhisattva activity. Because that is, by not doing it, you're actually breaking your vows at a certain level. So it's this, but it's this totally different way of thinking, right? We're not trained in school to, well, maybe nowadays more so,
Maybe.
because there is more meditation and contemplation being taught, right? Exactly. So there, we have a teacher right here who teaches that in the elementary schools, and it's beautiful. It wasn't often taught up until, and that's a sign of everyone's karma, right? To live in a world, in a day and an age, in a city where loving kindness is taught at the elementary school level. Like, how beautiful is that? So it's taking that motivation to the next level and saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this for myself and for everybody else, and swearing to it. So it is an unusual way of thinking, and that's really what this whole course is about.
Julia.
That's a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's supposed to brush your teeth, and you say, I do it for everybody else, which you're doing it for everybody else if you have been trying to reach bodhicitta. And so, what's next? How do you say it to yourself?
Well, you can actually even say it in a way that I want to have clean and healthy teeth, so that when I speak, my breath is sweet, that the words can be heard sweetly, that I can communicate. So you can extrapolate it however you want. And some mornings, it's all I can do to get myself out of there in 5 minutes. So I'm not going to be saying a whole bunch of words, but if you are regularly habituating yourself to having that intention, it's really the feeling, it's really the intention behind the act. So sure, at the beginning when you're trying to be consciously more focused on it, come up with whatever words work for you to express that. it's not so much what you're doing, but why you're doing it. And so you're turning everything you're doing anyways into a higher act by understanding how that very act can help you be a better bodhisattva, how it can help you serve others better, because it all can. I mean, you can't, if you're like needing to go to the bathroom and you don't go, you're not going to be of much help to somebody else, right? Until you're comfortable and until you have digested your food properly and all of that stuff. So it sounds silly, but every little act can be turned into that. And, definitely the bigger ones that you know of, where you have consciously put into effect one of the perfections, then yes. But even, I'm going to eat my lunch now because I need the energy to be of the highest service this afternoon. And so you take the time to do that, right? And then there's, don't get me started on food. There's a whole other teaching we could do on the merits of food. I'm not going to do it. We're going to we have a goal to actually be finished by 9 o'clock today, and we were going to take a dance break. So we'll table that for another time. But yeah.
But I was just very simple. You could, any way, small or large, that you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Any way. You could just think of yourself, I'm a bodhisattva, I'm a bodhisattva, and I need to take care of myself because I have a goal to reach, and that goal is going to help many people. I need to take care of myself. So anything that you're doing like that, anything that, like that, right?
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the meditating at school now. It's like, I think about that sometimes, and as far as like what we see in the world, and we see news flashes about, poverty, this and stuff, horrible stuff that's happening in the world, or and like someday, and it's always because of this or because of that, or stocks are falling or this and that, and we're in the verge of like financial, someday, because this is happening, like someday maybe on the news they'll be talking about karma and emptiness on the news. Maybe that will be on CNN, right? It'll be like, they'll be like rejoicing on some amazing thing that some bodhisattva did somewhere, and I was thinking about that the other day, how it's so, like, this way of thinking is so backwards to what we're used to. Like we have a large amount of people that have been living their lives in a way trying to improve. I don't know, like we're flying to other planets now, right? We have satellites flying over the place. We have these amazing iPhones and all this, and it's all like based on like outer goals. Sure, maybe it benefits a bunch of people, maybe it doesn't. I don't know, but it's all like shooting out, and yet, inside the sphere of our own planet is everything that we need to make us happy. Just like in the inner sphere of our own minds, there is everything there. So all the poverty that we see in the world could be being used if we understood karma right. If as a massive consciousness, if we understood that right, we would be actually, with joyous effort, using the poverty that we see to bring happiness to ourselves by helping them, not as a tax write-off or as, as a small, okay, I'll dig them a well so they're not thirsty for a couple of years, but actually a broader understanding of I will assist them because that will change me and my world, and then so echo out, right? So I think that meditating in school hopefully will lead to something like that. And right? It's so different. And so that's the beauty of taking like these ceremonies and the vows, because it gives you a way to just keep going back to your vow book and just keep on plugging in your vows so that you maintain that in a world that may or may not to you seem like they're acting very differently, right? And it is the fruits of your actions that will change it. So whether in the ceremony, you do this ceremony, this vow ceremony, whether you actually get real bodhicitta in that moment, or whether you just get a sense of something happening that's going to lead to real bodhicitta, there's a step that you do afterwards. That's the key step that we're going to talk about tonight. Because now around this whole bodhicitta thing, we've had 4 steps, right? We've had purifying ourselves so that we can put ourselves in the running for bodhicitta. Then we had the process of collecting the positive energy, right? That's 2. And then we have the actual ceremony where you take your vows. And then finally, the subject of this class is number 4, which is this very cool step, and it's where you rejoice, where you take joy in what you've just done. And it's explained by Atisha, Dharmabhadra, Arya Nagarjuna, Master Shantideva. They're all over this thing, right? That it's so key to be stoked about what it is that you're doing or have just done. So, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a specific part in the Bodhisattva vow ceremony. Those of you who have taken it, maybe you can remember. At the very end, after it's all said and done, and we throw those rose petals in the air, and we party, right? Basically, we celebrate. So it's the post-ceremony, and Tibetans say gawa,
Gawa.
gompa.
Gompa.
Gawa, gompa. Gawa means joy, and gompa, how many of you know the word gompa?
I don't actually know what it means.
That's funny. Just like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious sounds familiar, but I don't know what it means either.
Does anyone know what that means?
Amanda, do you know what gompa means? Yeah, gom means to habituate. It's the word for meditation in many ways. It means to meditate. But we're not just talking about any old gompa, we're talking about gawa gompa. So we're talking about concentrating on joy. So this is a whole separate step in gaining bodhicitta, for gaining the wish. And Master Shantideva says it's very important because what it does, it cements in your mind the promise that you just made. So it's not enough just to have the motivation and make the commitment to do it. You got to be really happy you did it. And that's what really cements the whole promise. Master Shantideva actually makes it a requirement. So the partying after the Bodhisattva vow ceremony, in case you thought it was something we made up, it's actually a requirement by Master Shantideva that you have to have this rejoicing part. And of course, because we are in the lineage of lists, we have 2 parts to how we actually celebrate, okay? So the first part is about being really, really happy for you. You did it, should be really happy about it. The second step is that you get really, really, really happy because this is going to make other people happy. And you understand how that works. So we're just going to unpack this a little bit. So the first part, being happy for you. By the way, this has 3 parts. Okay? So the first part is to uplift your spirits or uplift your heart. So actually, this might sound familiar to you meditators who have taken the ACI course on meditation, right? One of the antidotes for dullness and drowsiness, which could be one of the problems of meditation, is to uplift your mind, to uplift your heart, to think about things you're grateful for, to think about things that you're really thrilled about, right? Lighten up your mind. So it is the antidote to dullness and meditation. And Pabonka Rinpoche says, if you can't think of anything good, at least think about the fact that you're human. Because it takes a great good deal of merit to even be born as a human. Even if, as a human, you don't think, even if you think life sucks, even if you think that the whole world is against you, or maybe you're flat, what did you call it, broke ass, and and nobody loves you or whatever, you are human. You have everything it takes to get yourself out of the dumps. You have everything it takes to get yourself not only out of the dumps, but to complete and ultimate enlightenment, okay? So this is the first part of being happy for you. You get really, really happy that at least you made the commitment. At least you've staked you've drawn the line in the sand and you're going to do this thing. And you get really, really happy about that. And then Oh, and in the vow ceremony, for those of you who have taken it, I'm going to recite it. There is a part, by the way, if you listen to this audio afterwards, Geshe-la gives it in exquisite, Sevi, he gives it in exquisite Tibetan, okay? The whole thing. This class is, I would say, 80% Tibetan. We kind of suck at Tibetan, so we've left that part out, but please listen to it for the blessing, okay? So we're going to give you the English. Here's the part in the vow ceremony where you rejoice for yourself. And it's the part that says, now, finally, my life has some meaning. Born as a human, today I have joined the family of the Buddhas. I am a child of the Buddhas. And now, no matter what, I will undertake those things that fit the family I have found. I will never disgrace my pure and noble family. So each line there is loaded with not only meaning and metaphor, but an element of the promise that you made. But really, the thing to remember on this part is that you're really, really rejoicing for that. Okay, so that's the first of 3 parts of being happy for yourself.
I just thought, if you want to, like, a little trick, if you want to be rejoice in something, it's easy. Have you ever just sat down and thought about what a miracle it is to actually, like, be conscious? Like, you just consider the insanity of that, of the miracle of what it actually is. Like, what's going on here in this room right now? Like we're this gathering of amazing beings with all this miraculous stuff that's come together that has given us this. We've somehow, put the causes into place to be sitting here. And some of us like to focus on all our problems. Some of us don't. Some of us, have an easier time with it. But right, the very essence of what we are is it's a miracle. It's a bloody miracle. That's what I'm saying. If you want to, like, get like your mind bright, just consider for a second how insane it is to just be able to have a conscious thought, to have a sense of that I am a being. I'm a being of some kind. And that if any of what we've learned is true, and that to have the capacity to have a consciousness and to have this body, like this body, what the heck is this thing? Your consciousness, your body, you leave it and it just falls limp. There's something else going on, right? So we're all connected in that. Like we seem like we're kind of like separate with these physical, like, apertures and things, but there's a heck of a lot more going on in this room than you might see or think. There's a lot happening in this room right now. And if and you can rejoice, right? The whatever it is that you have done to see yourself be projecting this type of reality, that's amazing. It's amazing. So, I don't know. I think, if you're having a hard time coming up with ways to be thrilled,
If you're having trouble, come talk to us, okay?
just sit and just think about what it is that you are. Just simply that, So the second part of being happy about what you've done for you is, okay, now I have this commitment. I'm going to try and keep it, right? I'm going to try and keep it clean as best I can, because you're happy, right? And the third part is thinking about the rarity of what you just did. The rarity. it's extremely rare to hear about bodhicitta. It's rare to hear about the Bodhisattva way of life. It's rare to hear about the Bodhisattva vow ceremony. It's rare to take the vow ceremony. It's easy to imagine that in the history of like humankind, if you crunch the numbers, it's probably easy to imagine that it's fairly rare that a person would formally make this commitment. I now, from this moment onward, I formally commit that I shall spend the rest of my life assisting other people in what they're doing, and I shall do it so that I can become a totally enlightened being so that I can then help everyone. That's probably pretty rare. Or is it? Right? It's like, it's very healthy to not be sure about that. Very healthy to not be so sure. Because if you're in a world where you don't see that many bodhisattvas, well, that's the world you're projecting. When your karma changes, you will see a whole pile of them. Right? So, depending on where you're at, you can either be, wow, it's rare, or be really stoked because now you're one of them. Either way, it's really good, right? So, I'm just going to make this quick. So, Master Shantideva, he compares it to
A lot of stuff.
a lot of stuff. So I'm just going to put it like this. I'm going to put it like this. He compares, imagine that in your life, imagine, maybe no one's experienced this before, maybe some of you have, but maybe you're in a really bad way. Maybe it's emotional, maybe it's mental, and maybe it's financial. And you're just down in the dumps, and you're so far in debt or something like that, and you just, you're using your gas card to eat, and you're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, and maybe you're in this kind of situation. And then one day you're walking along and you look down, and on the ground you see a lottery ticket, and you pick it up and you go in, and it's worth $12 million. And it's like, it's just crazy dumb luck. He's saying that to come across the wish for bodhicitta and the vow is like that. It's so crazy, insane, rare that you should be thinking about that after you actually take your vow, like, wow.
Did you just update the triple thing?
No, I
it's
didn't.
the beggar in the field.
It's a
thing.
long story about what it's like in India,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
it's like a beggar
The
in India
garbage,
finding,
yeah.
but like a real beggar in India who finds a big diamond. So it's like that. So you should be stoked on the rarity of what has just taken place. And
We're going to take a dance break
Yes.
now. We are. We're going to take a dance break, and we're still going to finish class on time. So let's just, and it's just for one song. We'll just do a little quick stretch.
it's a wind practice, right?
Yeah.
Gets your
Move your channels.
gets you ready for more. You have
Sure, you have it. I have an apple.
You
some?
do?
Sure. I got some.
Yes.
It's a brave new world.
It's really, really cool.
Isn't it? I know. I just feel like I landed on another planet when I got mine.
I remember when I lost my mind. But there was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo and so much space. And when you're out there, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much.
lose Okan? Oh, there you are.
There you
Are we back or are we on the whole time?
We're on.
We're on the whole time. So did everybody at home take a dance break too?
There's no one watching.
Ah.
There's no one watching.
Well, if anyone watches this on the recording, they should take a dance break during that part. Okay, so those were the 3 parts for the first part of being happy, right? Which was for your own sake. So we're moving on so that was for your own benefit. And now we're moving on to the second part, which is for the benefit of others. And this actually has 5 parts. So the first one is it benefits. Actually, let's try to do the Tibetan. Say Drowe,
Rowe,
Chidak,
Chidak,
Jumpa.
Jumpa.
The Jumpa part is the love, actually, right?
Isn't it the
Oh no,
it's like
the destruction. Okay.
destruction.
So, Jumpa, not Jompa. Okay. So, anyways.
Love destruction.
Love destruction, yeah. No, so anyways, Drowe Chidak Jompa is the, because we're destroying, we're Jompaing Chidak. Chidak is the Lord of Death. You know, on the Wheel of Life, the Lord of Death is the monster that's holding the whole wheel. And, he's depicted as this nasty monster with big fangs and long fingernails. Where do you think he lives? Yeah, inside of us. Yeah. The Lord of Death is the death which is coming to all of us. It's what is exists inside of us the day that we're conceived. From the moment of conception, the Lord of Death is inside of us. And Geshe-la says he's like a little rat gnawing away at your insides, and every day chewing just a little bit more until one day he's gonna hit a vital organ and that'll be it. So Jumpa means you destroy him completely. You destroy the Lord of Death completely. And I love this. Geshe-la throws in a little bit of Buddhist humor in here. He says that the Lord Buddha did not say, I will turn the wheel of Dharma to reduce stress for everybody, to remove everybody's stress. That's not why he turned the wheel of Dharma. He turned the wheel of Dharma to teach us how to stop our own death, to stop our own, this whole process of aging, illness, and death. And he said, I will remove illness in people. I will move rebirth. I will remove death itself. I will destroy death. And if you get this bodhicitta, if you can cultivate it, you will be able. See, this is the compassion that will benefit others. You will be able to stop the death that's coming to others. And, how are you going to do that? Do you do that by just sitting on your cushion and wishing for it? By meditating? See, first you have to stop your own. Right? What do you think getting to enlightenment is? Do you think you get to enlightenment and then you still have to die? Right? So getting to enlightenment, you will overcome all of that, and then you will be in a position to teach everyone else how to do that. So, and there is a difference. You know it when you hear about how to reach emptiness directly from someone who's actually done it. You can taste it. You can smell it. You know that they've done it, right? And the same thing with, right now it sounds like a bunch of blah blah. I'm just reporting to you how it is that you can stop your own death. But when you have as Lama John was saying earlier, like, for all we know, you may be the last non-bodhisattva in the room. Can't prove that you are, but I can't prove that you aren't either, So if that's the case, then when you finally crack that heart open with your bodhicitta, you will have an experience unlike what you think it's going to be just from the words that you're hearing. But getting bodhicitta is the first step towards that process of stopping your own death. so that you can stop it in others. And there is a question that comes up. If someone in this room has already stopped their own death, would you necessarily be able to see it? Would you necessarily be able to know? And the answer is actually no. Might they even still appear to die to you? And the answer is yes. So is that contradictory for them to not see themselves die, but still to appear to die to you? It is contradictory? Yeah, it's not contradictory. Why?
Because it's my karma to see him die. I don't know how he sees himself.
And it's your karma because of emptiness, right? Yeah.
Did you catch that? Did you get that? No. Yeah. Do you want to say that a little louder, Lana?
Yeah, to see someone dying, it's my projection. It's as I see because of my karma. How this person sees this process and his body, and it's his karma. So I don't know how he sees himself or herself.
And
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
yeah, you
Yeah,
have
kinda,
to
right?
you have to kind of cook it, but that is the struggle that we need to go through to understand emptiness more clearly. But it's a good struggle, and but that is basically the debate that is underlying this possibility, which would then truly be of benefit to others, right? So that's the first of 5, benefiting others.
So the second one, say ulwa jumpa.
Ulwa jompa.
So what does jumpa mean again? To destroy. To destroy, yeah. So destroy. To destroy it. Jumpa means to destroy it.
It's jompa, not jampa.
Jumpa. Jumpa. So ulwa means poverty, and in this sense meaning spiritual poverty and physical poverty. So to destroy physical and spiritual poverty in others by your own bodhicitta, right? In the same way that Sherri was saying, it's like, it's not like you can actually do it for someone else, right? If enlightened beings, like in the last one, like if your compassion was enough to make someone else's process of seeing themselves die normally end, well then none of us would experience it, because someone else's compassion, like the Lord Buddha's or anyone else, would have done it for us. That's right. So in the same way, it's like Buddhas don't run around pouring water on people's head, and right, they teach. They teach accurately and tell you ways. Teach you ways to actually completely ruin your poverty. Right? They teach the Dharma. And in order to... and your bodhicitta will take you there. Your bodhicitta will take you to the place that you can wave the wand of the Dharma, and then you can teach people how it is that they can completely destroy their spiritual and physical poverty by putting in the causes. You got to teach people to put the causes into place, just like shamatha. It's just a different subject matter. That's all.
Oh, you know what? I actually gave you all of it.
What?
But here, I'll do the
Did
next
you?
one,
I'll
and
go.
then you can do that one.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
So say ne jompa.
Ne jumpa.
Jompa means?
Destroy.
Ne in this instance, it means illness. So there's 2 kinds of sickness. One is physical illness, and the other are actually, I think, sometimes worse. It's our mental afflictions. It's the afflictions in our own minds. And so this is to destroy both of those.
And all by means of the same thing, right? It's beautiful. It all leads to this, in the same way, it leads to the same thing. So number 4, say cheer,
Cheer,
duknyel,
duknyal,
jompa.
jompa.
So this time we're destroying, so duknyel, remember what that means? Suffering,
Yeah.
right? Duknyel means suffering. And
Mm-hmm.
cheer here means in general. So they're saying here that you're destroying general suffering. Every kind of general suffering in samsara. And that's just a more general way of getting everything in there. That's why it's called more general. Can we keep going?
Yeah.
Okay. That's number 4. Number 5, say kepar,
Kepar,
nyensong,
nyansong,
gi,
gi,
duknyal,
duknyal,
jumpa.
jompa.
So we have duknyal jumpa from last time. What does that mean? Suffering, destroying, right, destroying the suffering of. So kepar means in particular this time. And nyensong means the 3 lower realms. So here we get destroy the suffering of the 3 lower realms. And no one here can tell me what the 3 lower realms are because no one came to ACI 8. Takmadrub. Oh, someone did come to ACI 8.
You
No
were
one
at
came to ACI 8.
Yeah. So
You came to ACI 8. No, you didn't come to ACI 8.
But you can tell
Even
us.
though you didn't come to ACI 8, you can tell us what the 3 lower realms are.
There.
You can? Oh, sure.
So it's animal realm, hell
Uh-huh.
realm, and the
Animal realm, hell
The birds?
realm,
The angels?
ghosts.
hungry ghosts.
Hungry ghosts.
What is it?
Hungry ghosts, animal, and hell.
So the hell realms, the animals, and
If you want to go in descending order,
Craving
it's
spirit, yeah.
animal, hungry ghost, hell.
yeah. Most, like a normal person really can only see the animal realm. You know, you have to be, your consciousness needs to be a little bit higher to be able to see directly the other realms, and you have to take it from the word of like authoritative sources that they exist if you haven't seen them, right? You can logic it out and debate, but same thing. Your bodhicitta is going to take you to a place where you can become totally enlightened, so then you can teach beings to never have to go to the 3 lower realms, so they never have to suffer those kinds of sufferings, right? Which this takes us, we've done those 5, and this takes us into the next section, and that is, not only will you be able to wipe out from their hearts the things like those sufferings, but this is my favorite part. You get to wipe out the causes
Yeah.
of those sufferings. And those causes come in, there are 2 types of things that sentient beings have that cause those kinds of sufferings that are listed here. All of it, the whole thing, all of suffering, actually. So we're going to
We're going to
dive into
unpack those 2 causes in a fair amount of detail. Yep. Okay, so say nyun drip.
Nyun drip.
Nyun comes from nyomong. Do you guys remember me telling you about nyomongs? Yeah, it's the Tibetan word for klesha, nyomong. So nyun comes from that, means mental afflictions. And what is the definition of a mental affliction? Do you remember, Farah?
Anything that disturbs the peace of mind.
Any thought that disturbs the peace of your mind. So, and drip in this case means shadow. So it's the shadow, but in philosophy, and especially in the study of Buddhist psychology, shadow refers to a spiritual obstacle. And guess what? There's 2 kinds of spiritual obstacles, okay? So the first, the nyon drips, are mental afflictions, which are obstacles that primarily prevent you from reaching nirvana. And then secondarily, they prevent you from reaching Buddhahood. Okay? So we need to identify them and stop the things in our mind that are blocking us. Okay? So it's interesting, right? Nirvana isn't necessarily a destination or an attainment. It's the removal of an obstacle. We often have taught in the form of it's a cessation, but it's the removal of an obstacle is another way that you can say it. And Nirvana's right here. But if you're not seeing this, and if you are remotely uncomfortable or irritated or tired or anything that is disturbing the peace of your own mind, then there is a nyondrip. You are experiencing one of these mental affliction obstacles, okay? So they are the mental afflictions themselves, and according to the highest schools of Buddhism, the ultimate obstacle for reaching nirvana is the fact that we see things as self-existent. Okay?
Can I just say something before we go on?
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out something that Sherri, that Lama Sherri said that may have gone unnoticed, but she was saying that a mental affliction, right? So if you're feeling tired, right? Lama Sherri put affliction in front of feeling tired, right? You can be in nirvana and be tired. This is very, you need to understand this. This is very, very important. Just because your mind has reached nirvana, which means you've actually gotten rid of these mental afflictions, it does not mean that suddenly you're never tired, or you don't see things that you don't like. You're just not afflicted by them. You're just not afflicted, which is a very different reality. Very different reality. Okay, if no matter what occurs in your day or in your night, you do not have something that disturbs your mind about what is going on. Okay, so don't, because remember the story about the king of Kalinka in one of the ACI classes? He got his bloody limbs cut off. He was in nirvana
The whole time.
but he was not afflicted about the situation. So I'm really passionate about this idea that people can get this mistaken idea that nirvana is like the end, right? And so
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
an important clarification. But if you're not feeling tired without a mental affliction, like if you're feeling tired and thinking that you wish you could be somewhere else, that
Yeah.
you wish you could be having rest, then that is an afflicted state.
that ain't nirvana.
That ain't nirvana. So it's this, and actually we're thinking of something there as self-existent. We're thinking that our fatigue is from its own side a problem or something that we need to fix, right? So whenever you have a mental affliction too, there is a corresponding holding to something that is self-existent about it. So when you can experience any of these things without like understanding what the true cause of that feeling tired or seeing whatever is, and not being disturbed by it, like understanding it's a ripening of your karma. Remember we said that right at the beginning. Everything is a ripening of your karma, and every ripening is the cause for something else. So it's but when you're grasping to anything as self-existent, there is still a nyondrip. There is still a mental affliction obstacle, and that will prevent you from reaching nirvana. Okay?
Okay, so the second kind of obstacle, dripa, say shedrip.
Shade drip.
So she here means knowledge. And drip, as you know, means obstacle. So here is the obstacles to knowledge. So you're getting rid of your obstacles to knowledge, which means what? Omniscience,
Yeah.
right? You'll notice as you go through the courses that they're always talking about an enlightened being the victorious one, right? They have attained victory over the two obstacles. And the two obstacles are just what we're talking about right now. The mental affliction obstacles and the obstacles to omniscience. This is what we're talking about. So once you remove the obstacle of knowledge, the omniscience, then you are a totally enlightened Buddha. As long as you have the other one too. The other one comes first. So shade drips, they are the spiritual obstacles that mainly prevent you from reaching total enlightenment itself. Because once you reach nirvana, you have a ways to go to reach total enlightenment, right? In the Hinayana path, nirvana is actually done. You're done in the Hinayana path. In the Mahayana path, you've got a ways to go yet. You're not quite done. Because you reach nirvana by habituating to what you've learned on the path of seeing, and you've got rid of your mental afflictions. Now you have to get rid of the more subtle obstacles. Do you remember, I think this is from ACI 4, maybe. I can't remember, ACI 4 maybe. When does removing that last obstacle happen? What you remember? We talked about a certain moment. There's Oakman, and then there's the slightly below paradise, and there's this cool happening Bodhisattva person who's like on 1 bhumi, 2 bhumi, 3 bhumi, 4 bhumi. How many? On what? And what bhumi? And what Bodhis? 10. That's it. 10. On the 10th level is when it actually happens. Is when you finally remove that the tiny subtle obstacle to actually. Well, they say actually seeing things as self-existent, and not just grasping to them, but actually seeing them in that way. Because on Bodhisattva levels 9 and 10, you're learning to be omniscient, right? You've gone all this way, and then you're just finally tipping over, and you're just finally learning to be omniscient. Yeah. The final, very, very subtlest seeds. To actually perceive something that to you appears in any way as self-existent. Because you remember before, way back when you saw emptiness directly, right? Right? Way back then, you achieved this thing where you could no longer believe that things were self-existent, but they were still appearing to you that way. Well, now, finally, after all this time, you're like, okay, wow, I'm right here now. I'm finally not even going to see anything that way. And you're right on the verge of total enlightenment at that point. So, and when you get rid of that, in that instant, you become omniscient. Pardon? No more binders.
No more binders.
Although, you may have binders.
Because they'll be bliss binders.
Right? It's not like, right? You may have binders. But you may not be thinking, binders. You have some other opinion about the binders, right? So what we're pointing at here is after you do all that ceremony and you've taken the vow, you're supposed to be really, really excited about all of these things that you are putting the causes into place to happen.
Because that is what you're doing.
Right? You're going to actually achieve the ability to help people stop all those things, and even more than that, stop the causes, pull out the causes that could, cause those things. And you have to figure that out. You have to meditate on things like that. Yeah. on how that works and how, like, why? Why is it that your simple ability to teach people about their mental afflictions, what they are, and then how to draw them out, how is it that that saves everyone? Like, what? You gotta go there. Like, why is it that mental affliction is the source? Why is it? Especially the big bad one, right? Ignorance itself, that just seeing things as coming from out there at you, right? You got to think about it. Why is it? Why is it that that is the source of all of pain, right? Of all of suffering. So you're supposed to take joy in the fact that the ultimate compassion that you have committed yourself to involves finding out what really makes people die, and then dealing with it in yourself, and then being able to help people stop that cycle. It's a cycle. And in order to be able to show someone exactly what they need to do, you have to do it yourself first. Buddha.
Yeah, the only last thing to say is that only a Buddha can understand the most subtle workings of karma. Deeply, deeply hidden, remember? But we can practice. We can try and worry away the causes as best we can. That's what you do, right? When you make this vow, and that's why they call it a practice, because we chip away at it. Coming up later this month, there's going to be a couple of workshops happening that will help with this. I'm actually going to be doing a karmic tune-up for anyone, even if you didn't come to the karmic management workshops that happened. When did that happen? Last month? 2 months ago. 2 months ago. And that was like a whole afternoon workshop. Even if you didn't come to that, but you're interested in dealing specifically with some of the causes for your conditions, we're going to have 3 sessions, one a month actually, September, October, November, just a 2-hour, what I'm calling a karmic tune-up. And it'll be from 10 till noon on a Saturday morning. It'll be on the schedule. Our website is down right now. Apologies, because we're in transition from the old site to the new site. And apparently we were supposed to have this interim thing that didn't work. So our angel Joel, who's teaching Wednesday night meditation classes right now, sent out an email saying, sorry, it's down right now, but it should be up again in the next 48 hours. So apologies for that. But when it's up again, you'll see that workshop. Lama John's also teaching the inner body yoga workshop, or the sessions again, every month on one of the weekends. So that'll be
When?
up. And
when am I doing that?
that's, I can't remember, but it's
28th?
okay.
That sounds right.
But that's a really interesting way with your yoga asana, and a very, again, an unusual way of approaching it and thinking about it while you're doing it, to help cultivate the subtle body so that it is at the most receptive and available to do some of these practices also. So they all work, equally well. Just like Lama John was saying earlier, even with Geshe-Lu's first tier of students, right? Like half of them went into deep retreat, half of them are traveling the world in active Bodhisattva, outward method, right? And half of them are in this inner wisdom thing. You need both. You need to have a really good balance of both. And so we're trying to provide some opportunities here where you can start practicing that without going into 3-year retreat necessarily yet, or traveling the world at the moment. But, keep it up, and guess what's going to happen down the road? No, I'm teasing. Maybe not. But so that's really all we have to say for today. But it really is about rejoicing, being really, really, really joyful. And a really good step for rejoicing is gratitude. Just, it's just a really beautiful way of training the mind. So guess what? It's 10 to 9. So, are there any questions?
I just want to thank you again for the karmic cleansing from last time.
Oh,
'cause-
excellent.
'cause I've seen a lot of changes the last 2 months for me, and
Sweet.
I know that I'm trying to just kind of like really rejoice. It's so funny that rejoicing is the topic today because in the last month is that I can feel oh my god, my karma has definitely changed, but there's this weird underlying fear, residual fear.
Of
Oh my god,
course.
should I celebrate? What if it turns into too much again? It's almost like that. It's like I'm trying to be aware of that in the
Yeah.
background,
Yeah.
and it's just quite interesting that it's still there. So I don't know what else. Maybe I have to release more. I don't know, purify more.
Just keep rejoicing and doing what you're doing, and remember that little voice that's going, uh-oh, maybe that's what we call a demon. And the demons aren't out there with fangs and scary things. They're in here. They're in here, right? So you're doing the work.
You know what a great cause to get rid of reluctance in yourself to rejoice is rejoicing in what others are doing. Like if you think about
Yeah.
like the stuff that other people are doing that's really happening, and just in your mind think, wow, that's really awesome.
Yeah, thanks for
Right?
saying that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dedicate. Here is the great earth, filled with the smell of incense, covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the 4 continents, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them a paradise of a Buddha, and I offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Nirayatayami.
By the goodness
Of what I have just done, may all these complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the 2 ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make.
Nice job, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Oh, we didn't share the kale.